Well, good morning again. Did you have a good week in the Lord? I rejoiced in the good news that we did get. And thank y'all for your prayers. You never know what the Lord has for us, but we know He has never made a mistake in my life. Last Sunday when we were backing in, me and Melissa were talking about something. And she said, I wonder if there was another way. Well, there wasn't another way, because if there had been another way, God would have done it with that situation in our life. And trust in Him, trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. We're in Ruth chapter 2 today. Last time we left off, we talked about how Ruth had given everything up, but Naomi was still clinging and she was bitter. Call me Mara. And now the story pivots and the Lord begins to work here because He's brought her home, even though she's bitter about it. Her bitterness wasn't bigger than God. And I'm so glad that my bitterness, my sin, my disdain a lot of times for what God does have for me does not stop Him. Have you ever thought, listen, this book here is referred to many times as a beautiful love story between Ruth and this new character today we're going to be introducing, Boaz. But the overarching story here is God interacting with man. Listen, we have this here in our native tongue that we can sit here and read and meditate on this. Think about that. We didn't have to go to a library to check this Bible out and then return it. God saw fit that a man would order it be translated, trying to defy the church, and brought about God's will that we can have this with us. That we can read that verse, entreat me not to leave you. Where you go, I'll go. Where you lodge, I'll lodge. That's God interacting with man and woman. So be thankful that you can hold this in your lap this morning. I have more and more learned to appreciate that I have this at home with me. This removed the middleman. If I can't get to God, whose fault is it now? And I know and that's His thing here. You can't stop God. You can go to Moab, but you're coming home. I've been to Moab. Guess what? I came home bitter because I was still hanging on to Egypt. But I can look back and see the footprints in the sand, the fingerprints on my life of what God has done and why I had to go through that. Listen, look back why you had to go through the valley of the shadow of death. And look who was with you. This is about God and God dealing with man for His purpose. Listen, we get to get in on this. We have the privilege. If God has focused His attention on you, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Tell me what he did to Esau. We read that and recoil because we know what our fleshly hate is. We don't know what a holy hate is. We don't. Because in our fallen state, when we hate something, our disdain is usually fleshly. You ever feel that vexation? Well, that's different. Something vexes you. You begin to get a little bit of that holy hate there. But there's also a holy love. Jacob have I loved. Look at all the things that Jacob went through. His own son sold his favorite son into slavery, limped into glory, fought an angel and wound up with a wounded hip. But God took His time detailing and made a great nation, Israel. A nation that still exists today. You seen any Philistines lately? The remnants are probably there, or descendants thereof, but they're not named. All that is forgotten. But Israel still stands. And Ruth here becomes a partaker of this. Listen, when the right person at the right time and is at the right place, and the fourth element is with the right spirit, God's going to do something wonderful. But as I mentioned last time, we have to give up a lot. We've got to be cheerful about doing it. And it's not just our money. Our brother here has said it before. God don't need your money. He'll do it anyway. But I get to give Him my money and watch Him use it. I get to give Him this temple and watch Him use it. Let's start here in verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Now he's wealthy. Why didn't he go to Moab? You begin to see God start contrasting difference here. Naomi, as I said, was bitter because she'd lost her husband. She also told Ruth what? She was too old to have children. Was Sarah too old to have children? God did it anyway. So she's discounting God working this out for her. It's just a hopeless, lost cause. I've been there in my life before. It's just a hopeless, lost cause. Let me tell you something. God can unscramble an egg. Well, we don't believe that. Here, God's beginning to move. There's somebody here that's going to be their Redeemer. Verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, Let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, Go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hat was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of who? Elimelech. Happened to light on the field. Our dear brother Evan there, when he prayed, he said, Lord, help us to keep this in front of us when we leave here Monday. When we leave here and we're out there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And by Saturday, have we forgotten all of this? By then, are we so wrapped up in our will and our way? It says she happened to light on the section of the field that belonged to Boaz. Now, they didn't plan it this way, but somebody else did. Naomi didn't say, hey, we've got a near kinsman that might can help us. Y'all ever tried to help God out? Oh, boy, let me tell you something. I've tried to help him out a bunch and made a mess. Now, she didn't have a GPS map that said, here's Boaz's field. She was just going about her. She was where she's supposed to be, doing what she's supposed to do. I think of the night we ran up on John and Kim at Applebee's. Thank you, sweetie. I wasn't looking for them. Shocked to see them there. And then a storm rolled in, so they couldn't leave. We just happened to light there. What does Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 say? Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He might direct your paths. He shall direct your paths. If I want to be like Ruth, who's going to have to be? Where am I going to have to be? I'm going to have to be. I can't be in Moab. I'm going to have to be back in Bethlehem, even though there's a famine. Even though the valley of the shadow of death lie ahead, I'm going to have to be in Bethlehem, where I'm supposed to be. Who's ordering your steps this morning? A lot of us, listen, we're not here this morning by happen chance. We're not here this morning by happen chance. And by the way, the people that are not here this morning are not here by happen chance. God didn't just happen to set His affection on me. He chose me. And I can't grasp that. I try. But His ways are above my ways. Why? Tell me, what did He ever see in me? I don't even know what my wife sees in me half the time. I told her the other day, I said, honey, that front door is unlocked. I did something stupid. And she said, I'm here for morbid curiosity. If you would, let's go to Psalm chapter 37. I want to quote you Proverbs 16:9 while we're here. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. The Lord led us to Applebee's that night. Now, I had been praying about the situation we were in, and I was actively seeking his help. But I wasn't bitter and just shut down about it like Naomi was. I was just about what I had to do. I was where I was supposed to be. I was at my post, doing what I knew to do. Serving in the best I knew how. I wasn't living in open rebellion or open defiance to God. I was doing what I didn't know what to do. They don't know what to do here. She's like, we need food. That she was aware of the Levite law that allowed them to glean. Ruth was a godly woman. Listen, she had paid attention to Naomi and them's teachings. The Moabites didn't have that concept. She had to know somehow that they were allowed to go glean in those fields. And Boaz is a godly man that honored that. Let the people come behind them. And we'll get more on him later. But here in verse 23 of Psalms 37, I love this chapter because it starts out at the beginning a warning that I have to flip over and read quite often in the first verse where it says, fret not thyself for evildoers. But here in verse 23 it says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord holdeth him with his hand. Listen, Clay's going to mess it up. Naomi's going to mess it up. Ruth is going to mess it up. But he's going to uphold it because they are in the way. Are we in the Lord's way this morning? My wife will tell me, you're in my way, move. Are we in the Lord's path? I'm in her pathway. Am I in the Lord's way? Upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now am old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth. Listen, this talent's on loan from God. Any talent I've got, he lendeth it to me. The breath I breathe, this old ticker that we just had checked out, still ticking. He's loaned that to me. He lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil. If we're going to be in the way, if we're going to be in the Lord's way, depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, and none of his steps shall slide. Are we in the way this morning? Who's ordering our steps? Who's ordering our steps? Do we run to Moab when there is a famine? Do we get out of the way? Get out of the Lord's highway? Straight is the way and narrow is the gate. Straight is the way. Didn't say it's going to be broad and easy. We live a shepherded life, not a sheltered life. Trials and tribulations. Listen, this ain't popular. John got up here right after we started coming and said, a good soldier endured hardness. I'm like, what is this? I wanted an easy street. But it wasn't an easy street that led me here. It was a trial and a tribulation. Something that demoted my flesh. That's what. Present your bodies a living what? God loveth a cheerful. Y'all are good students. In Isaiah 26:3, I want to just quote this to you real quick. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Isaiah 26:3. Why do we get out of the way? Why do we not let the Lord, why do we fight the Lord ordering our steps? Because I don't trust him. I've got some uncertain things ahead of me. But guess who's already there? Elimelech left Moab. He thought he was going to save his life and make things better, and he lost his life anyway. Boaz stayed in the land. Boaz is in God's way. And it says he's a mighty man of wealth. And God's going to use him mightily. Listen, a great nation. They are in the descendant of Jesus, named in Matthew. Ruth. I got a spoiler here for y'all. Y'all know who Boaz's mother was? You want to talk about God using people that we wouldn't have anything to do for? Rahab the harlot. God uses broken, ordinary people. So if you think you're broken and ordinary and you can't be used, you are sadly mistaken. This week as he prayed, let's let this be in front of us. Let's look for the way, the truth, and the lie. No man cometh to the Father but by me. And he said, I am the way. So if I'm seeking him, I love Zacharias when he ran into the angel at the altar. He was just about the Father's business, best he knew how. And he ran up on the Lord. Hey, Ruth has run up on Boaz, not even looking for him. Didn't have to help God out. Just trusted. Trust and obey, for there's no other way. Love y'all. May the Lord bless you in the coming week.